what I was saying was, right, I was saying that I said women, or females in general, they have the luxury of loved based on what he's able to provide. You dig what I'm saying? Like, even if, let's say as a child growing up, how you view your mom and how you view your father, completely different. You know what I'm saying? The women who love, excuse me, not the women, the children who, when they think of their mother can do no wrong. And it don't matter whether the mom is there or not, the mom can do no wrong. Whereas the
Move to
father,
the area you in, Tip, it's hard to hear you. Move back where you was.
I'm in the same place. If you notice the Superfly poster, I have not moved.
For real?
Yeah, I haven't moved. I'm in the same spot I always been in. I will move though, just so you can.
Go to your
How about
Wi-Fi,
now?
meet.
Is that better? How about that? Is it better now?
She said go to Wi-Fi.
Go to Wi-Fi.
And I'll check. I'm checking my Wi-Fi too. They get into an area. Hey, mama.
Hi.
We'll see if we can click her back in a minute, and we'll just go from there. I'm texting here. I'm texting her. I think they just got to get to a good area, but it's an interesting conversation. And listen, here's the thing: everybody has to do what works for them, and when you're supposed to meet someone, you do. I do happen to know somebody that's been married for 17 years after a blind date. So again, if you're supposed to, what conversation? Oh, you're filming too? You are so advanced. Let me see. She may be back in there. We'll try it again.
I did it when you weren't looking.
She may be back in there. We'll try it again. Try it again. Oh, wow, daughter.
Okay.
You did amazing. Hold on. Let me see if I can find your auntie.
Oh my gosh. Guess I'll keep filming.
You're going to keep filming?
I guess. And you're not going to listen to me. Guess I will.
I always listen to you, daughter.
You are funny.
So are you, sweetheart?
No. My daddy
is Leia gonna read? Yes, I'm. Let me see if that's better. Can you hear me, bro?
Yeah, I can hear you. So basically, what I was just saying though.
Why?
Cut that off, baby.
Cut what off?
What
It's still doing it. Cut
what
it
did
off.
the lovely Leia just create and produce for us?
I'm trying to call my dad. Okay.
Let me see. No luck. Me with my
Nah, I'm
pajama
good.
bottoms on. Oh yeah, now I can hear you.
Yeah, I was saying. Now I was asking, what did the lovely Leia just produce for us to behold?
Come here, Lay. Your uncle say, "What did you just produce?" She has been filming us with a contraption that has a light on it. It's a whole. She's making her directorial debut.
You dig what I'm saying?
You're making a directorial debut for us.
Well, listen, just tell her, let me frame myself up for my close-up.
Man, get your point. You get a whole spa your first time around.
So I was just saying that I was
Can I read now?
You want to read to him?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll do that on your live. We'll create a read. She's gonna read you a book, but we'll do that on your live, and we'll get Eris to come in because I know you miss her. So we'll work on that.
So I was really just saying, right,
Yeah.
that women have the luxury of being loved unconditionally. Men, the love that comes from men come based on what these men can provide, what these men are bringing to the table.
Now you
And
know.
that ain't necessarily got to be financial. That ain't necessarily got to be materialistic. But if you have a man in your life and that man ain't doing nothing but sitting around every time you there, he's there, you ain't got the same love if there's no provisions there. Whereas a mom, if a mom is sitting there and she's there for you, you're gonna love her unconditionally.
Yeah, you can't compare. First of all,
That's so.
okay,
Somebody
talking about
said
mom
Young
and
Dolph.
dad. Yeah, if he talking about mom and dad, a mom, whether or not if she's still sitting there, she's probably still waiting on your food to be ready. You know.
Do you see this? Somebody said Young Dolph. Now, let me tell you what's crazy. I just said yesterday I want him on this record of mine. That's so crazy. Anyway, I strongly disagree. I watched my mom.
Yeah.
Okay. There was no. I feel like knowing what unconditional love is starts
So
at
at home.
home. It starts at home first, right?
All the men in
And
my family would love based on what they could provide.
No, but if
that's
you
unfortunate. That's
when you
unfortunate.
exactly.
That's unfortunate. That could very
Exactly.
well
So
be
that's
his
what I was.
experience,
What?
though. To
It
me,
got to be at least 40% of men out there the same way.
No,
I could.
maybe. But what I was gonna say is, a man, if he has a good, if he had like a mother and a father, whatever, that mother is gonna love him to death because mothers and sons relationships are so tight most of the
They deep.
time that
They
they
deep.
get so much love that they like. When they get older, people are like, "Oh, he a mama's boy," because they've been loved so dearly. So
Yeah.
it's not what you're saying. I disagree. I feel
It's all
like
right to disagree. I'm just
Well, I'm
giving
just saying that
I'm
could
just giving
be.
my perspective because based on
Yeah,
my experiences.
that was
And
your
other people with different
experience.
experiences, I understand how you could feel differently. But
Now
the
you know
world
what
as
my
I
brother
see it,
says. My brother says that he hadn't found. He's like, I know exactly what I'm looking for because I felt it before. Even though it's a different type of love, it's supposed to have that level of loyalty and it's supposed to be without condition, man. And I ain't found it. He be cool with that. You know, my brother, he the last one I know with no kids, happily by himself. And you know, when he pull up, he with that, you know, the woo woo. He about whatever. But he still is like, when I see how he interacts, not just with me, but even with my daughter, it's because of my mama loved him without condition. And we had a really trying childhood, you know, because we had a father that, you know, he was really about whatever. So we saw a lot really young. However, you know, in my stepfather, I got a chance to see, I had two examples of two completely different types of men. And when they say you typically end up dating your father, I did that. I did almost exactly that. Rock was my dad all over again in a lot of ways. And it's funny because they birthday a few days apart. They both are Capricorns. They both, you're never going to go without because they're going to work through and for whoever they with and they love. But there were also times where that love without condition had to come into play. When they say it's a federal court case and you look at me, I'm not going anywhere. The love without condition kept me there until it was over. And when it was over, it wasn't a whole lot there beyond the love. And we built the rest up. Um, you those are the things that he knows what it is because he had felt it before from his grandmother. His mama adored him, you know, and so those things were there. So he knew what that was with me because he could acknowledge what it was. My only concern was him being happy and healthy, being able to do whatever he chose that was after that life was over. And so that love without condition had to come into play, because I was still on the road. I was still getting it. I was still doing my thing. These were in my, what one would consider my prime. And I didn't have the children till way later. You know, this wasn't Rocco, I'm gonna do me. This was, you had to be from around the way to know who it was. And that didn't stop the love, because it was without condition. And even when it ended, that unconditional love is what still allows the respect. And so that's why I'm saying, like, it's probably a hard thing for some men to feel like you feel, but that is their experience. But I feel like that's what makes it harder when they do come in contact with unconditional love, if it's not recognized to be just that.
I can dig that. I still feel like if a man ain't providing, he gonna be considered lesser than. If a
By
man's not
whom though?
providing, he gonna be considered lesser than.
By who?
I mean, by the people in his household. By the people in his household. That was one of the first lessons I learned in life, man. You know what I mean? You're gonna have to, man, you're gonna always need to provide for you first, then your mama and the women in your family. That was my dad taught me, 3 years old. He gave me probably about, I think it might have been $2, $3, and say, man, always keep some money in your pocket. You need that. Always keep that. And you're going to have to always look out for your mama, your grandmama, and the women in your family. Right. So that was the example set for me that let me know, in order for me to be a man, that, you know, these are the things, this the checklist. You dig what I'm saying?
But your father gave you that list, not a woman that loved you unconditionally.
Right.
Your father gave you that list because that's what he felt was required of a man. That doesn't mean that if and when something goes on.
I've later learned that that's kind of, you know, as I look at my grandmama, love my grandmama to death. My grandmama was she was the matriarch of our family.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And she nurtured me as much as she, you know, as much as she could when she wasn't being a nurse.
Right.
But I think that, I'll give you an example, right? I was 15 years old, man, running the streets, trapping, doing all kinds of stuff, getting suspended from school, going in and out of juvenile, just doing all kinds of stuff.
Right.
You know, and she frowned upon my behavior, as she should have. You dig what I'm saying? But she always told me, like, you ain't gonna be nothing but old outlaw. You just gonna be an old outlaw. You ain't gonna never do right. You ain't gonna, what she used to tell me, you ain't gonna do right walking or riding. But however, my uncle, Quint, he was doing 10 years in the feds, which is her youngest child. Quint's her youngest child. He was doing 10 years in the feds for some work. And he was the greatest thing ever known to man to her. He could do no wrong. So I'm doing a much smaller version of what he was doing, but I'm the outlaw and he's the angel. Why? Because he provided. He was the one rolling down the street with the first side by side refrigerator freezer.
Hold on.
Unit in the neighborhood.
But did you ask your grandmother why?
I wouldn't. Nah, man. I wouldn't.
Exactly.
Back then, man,
so that was your perception of why. Let me say this. Let me give you another perspective on it. When people see me, by far my most difficult child is Romello Hill. Okay.
Okay.
He is extremely talented on the football field, the basketball court. He even introduced me to futsal, everything that you could think of, right? People call me about him when we go in places. He leaves his mark. He is just one of those ones. You know, Lil Rock is Big Rock. He relaxed with his. He move in silence. He two different personalities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know that a lot of what he does, I see different because I see him and what his struggles are differently.
Right.
It's almost like how you hard on King, but then you real like right in his corner too, which is sometimes not often depicted properly. But you know why? You see some of you in him, and whatever that is makes you hone into that differently. See, Quint, we don't know what her struggle was with him. Like I got one aunt, and
Quint with
she
the baby.
told is that he was a baby. But look, I'm gonna tell you this about my aunt's baby. And I used to be like, why you let him do that? You know that ain't cool. She said, listen, he was the child I was homeless with. He was the child that when my boyfriend put his hands on me, he got him off me. He was the child that so it be a lot of other stuff that's in the mix of some of those feelings sometimes that we don't always know the history about that make things that way. She might didn't feel that way or act that way about Quint just because Quint provided. She might have felt that way because she said, you know what, my baby can't even get to these streets. He might need something extra from me while he's sitting in there. And I know all his friends gonna disappear in the 10 years. Maybe 1 or 2 of them will stay down. But ain't nobody gonna visit like me. Ain't nobody gonna call like me. There's always some depth of story there. Like for me, when people used to ask me, oh my God, Monica, what are you doing here? And at that time, Rock was in the midst of a really serious case, and people would ask me, what are you doing here? Why? But they didn't see me when he met the young woman that had just experienced the suicide. You see something like that happen. It changes who you are. It changed the fact that some nights I couldn't sleep. And he would sit there and talk to me all night until I could sleep, or he could be. But people didn't get to see that side. So they
Sure.
just thought, oh, she just gone off. She ain't even thinking, she ain't using her head. He going through a federal case. What if this happened? You didn't get to see why he got a certain level of loyalty and love for me, and it had nothing to do with what he bought, because I could buy myself anything. So that's what I'm saying is that there's a depth of story with every mother and child. My firstborn, we have a completely different thing. He almost 6 foot and a come and climb in my bed, but I have another depth of story with him. My daughter, it was a completely different thing. I was a full-grown woman. I was married for the first time. There's another depth of story. So all 3 of our relationships are so different. And if we don't get to find out what that is, my grandmother was carried out by her husband while her 4 kids, their house caught on fire, and he carried her out because she was 8 months pregnant first. When he ran back in to get the key, depth of story with that child that she was carrying, my grandmother. I'm just telling you, like, that about depth. All of her children died and her husband, and she was carrying this one child. She was 8 months pregnant with him, and her husband saved her life first and went back in there to get his kids. And my grandmother remarried, who became my grandfather, had many more kids. So my mother's sisters and brothers. But that one uncle, it was just something special about him.
Of course it was.
But who knows what the depth of story was? You see? So that's why I'm saying what we think it is sometimes is not always just simply what it is. It appeared that
I can only tell you what I saw.
Right. But there's a story there.
And also my experience that after I became, I think my grandmama, man, was fortunate enough. She lived long enough to see T.I. right up into my first prison bid. Right over, I think she died in 2008, 2009. And that old outlaw that she was talking about when I was 14, 15, when I began to provide as an adult, and I was actually, then I was also then the greatest thing since cooked food. You know what I'm saying? So it was
But you know what that might have been?
And then me.
But that might have been because finally she had a chance to see you do what she felt in her heart was right. Your grandmama might would have been that way if you would have decided to be a school teacher after all of that, sharing your story about how you trapped and got in trouble in a classroom. We don't know. See, the way your perception of it is just by what you saw. And I tell my boys this all the time. They got parents that's really been through it for real, for real. When Jay-Z, one of the hardest lines I ever heard was when he said, my baby mama harder than a lot of you niggas. Oh, that's me. Because he couldn't depend on nobody like he could depend on me. You know what I'm saying? And so I tell my kids, like, you get that. You get that because it's in you. And I give you the kind of love that I want you to require someone to give you. But you got to be receptive to it, one. Appreciative of it second. Because see, what starts to happen sometimes is that unconditional loves get taken a little bit advantage of, and everybody
That's
just
real.
does what they want to do. Sometimes it can go both ways. So that's why I
That's
say,
real. I think unconditional love is you know, this shit is dangerous.
hey, listen, we love you unconditionally. You know, the next time I was in a courtroom, listen, my friend don't cry. It was a whole lot of tears. You know what I'm saying? But I'm there.
What?
I don't give a damn why they got you. I don't need
She
to know
just
the
thought the money
details.
was
I'm
gonna
on the
stop,
way.
honey. Once she saw the money was keep
You a
when the
lie.
money, we ain't gotta move out
You
our
a
house.
lie.
Oh, nigga, you right.
We could have made a lifetime movie about you while you was in there. That's a lie. We weren't worried about no money. See, we were worried about you. When I got married, I'm gonna tell you something she said, and I hope I ain't oversharing.
Don't worry about it. Go on, tell it.
but speaking of like love without condition, she didn't really want to come to California and be in this wedding and sharing these moments because she didn't have you.
Mm.
And I know I was there when Zanique was born. I was there through all of that stuff. And guess what? I understood.
Right.
Because I've been there. That's not unconditional love, because it was still mansions awaiting. It was still trips being taken, but she didn't want to go nowhere. You know what she wanted to do? She wanted to be able to make sure she got your calls, make sure she made her visits, so when she got to LA, I let her know, like, okay, well, listen, you don't come alone, like, bring mama. You know I love your mama anyway. Bring mama, bring Precious. Let's bring the family and make sure you still feel like you surrounded with love, because the person you love the most is not here. Listen,
Right.
we all got options. She don't want anything else but you. You don't want anything
No,
else.
I ain't
We
talking
all
about
got
that.
options. That's
But
the
no,
unconditional
I
love,
don't
because
need. I
money's
ain't
all
even.
around us.
I fuck with her a lot, but I already know, man. You know what I'm saying? This vibe here is one that can't be duplicated. I already know that, and you know, and she knows that about herself too.
Yeah.
And I want to talk to, what is it, MTG
Uh-oh.
Mag. They said the money doesn't matter. You're right until you don't have it.
That's
The
not
money
true.
doesn't matter until you don't have it. But listen, everything you're saying is correct, Monica. I just did not know that that was what we consider unconditional love. Because even with my wife, it ain't on the conditions of me providing, because she could provide for herself.
Right.
However, and when I mean monetarily, however,
Right.
I have to provide a certain amount of, I guess, reciprocated loyalty and other shit that must be provided in order for that love to continue. And that's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. You dig what I'm
Well,
saying? I mean, that's the way it is for everybody. Unconditional love is from mother to child.
but do you
Or
get my point about perspective too, though? Because like each relationship is what it is because of, almost, I would have to say, the unseen, the unknown. You know, like for somebody to say, well, why did she love him so hard? Why did she go so hard for him? There was no money there. There was like what were they trying to give? About 47 years or something crazy? There was no money there. And I didn't go anywhere. And I still say that I had children there. What I'm saying is that there's a lot of unseen that creates that. It created it for your grandmother. It created it for mine. It creates what makes you know, the way you speak to Major ain't the same way you speak to King. The way I speak to Mello ain't the same way I speak to Rock. It's the unseen that we know, because the
yeah,
love is unconditional. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm saying happens in relationships. And the main thing that we have to make sure is that we just don't take them for granted or take advantage of them. And
I
that we're
don't agree that it happens the same way in relationship, because from a
no,
father to a
not the love part, the unseen. I'm speaking of
oh,
the
okay,
unseen. The
right,
unseen of who you are to her is
right.
why she's still there. And that ain't something that can be bought. What you
Oh no,
doing for
this
her
ain't
for
about
real?
us.
No, for
This
me
ain't about us.
too. I use me as an example.
Now
I
I'm
told
trying
you and
to
these folks
say,
things about me and Rock
look,
that didn't nobody know. You know what I'm saying? Because we didn't have Instagram back then. The people didn't see me sitting in for the federal courtroom, but I was there. Okay.
right.
I never missed any of, and our creator should have known better the way that record was created was because Jermaine said he never knew that anybody could transfer getting these calls. Now, you know, this back in the day now. Transfer, get them calls to your cell phone. I was dedicated, and it was not because there was something for me to get. It was because the love was unconditional and because of the unseen. The unseen was that when I was at my worst, he was really, really there. So
Right.
I have unseen things with Tiny. Why will I pull up no matter what's going on? I don't give a damn who else she's supposed to be friends with. She already know what's going on over here. I'm different from a lot of them. I don't do a lot of the same things. I don't like a lot of the same people.
People, places, and things, man.
Period. And as she always say, I'm friends with everybody. That's not true. I'm friendly. I'm cordial because I'm hospitable, because I am a Southern girl. But who you seen at my house? When you see me pull up, when we filming, who I pull up with? Solo. I don't fuck with all them people.
Hey.
She fuck with. But I do feel confident in the unseen for me and her. Because if she call me, I'm coming. That's it.
Good Lord.
I'm coming.
Hey, listen, right? So I understand everything that you're saying in your perspective and why you have that perspective. And I agree with a lot of parts of it. I just think that when you get into a relationship, you have to, I didn't know this before because this is only my, second relationship, third relationship, right, in my life. Oh. So when I got into this relationship, I didn't really know all the things that needed to be cultivated and treasured about a relationship for it to grow and blossom. I had to learn that shit through trial and error. Okay. Gotcha. So the relationship,
I've been a lot of folks trial and error.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm proud of that shit, man. I'm proud of that shit because a lot of you motherfuckers wouldn't have lasted. True. A lot of you motherfuckers wouldn't have lasted. A lot of you women wouldn't have lasted. You dig what I'm saying? True. I mean, and excuse me for all the cursing. You know, some people in your comments are commenting on my cursing, and I apologize. But
what? I am from the west side of the city. You don't have to censor yourself. That's part of what's wrong with the world. That's part of it. I mean, Judge, don't get me started. Go ahead, Tim.
Nothing, man. I just think that, you know what I'm saying, man, when we go into a relationship, we got to know what we're looking for. And if we go into a relationship looking for unconditional love, we know that that is an anomaly. You dig what I'm saying?
And tell people what that means.
An anomaly, that means...
I'm just kidding. I know what that means.
That means very, like, first of its kind, or you know what I'm saying, unusual, unique.
Yes. Yes.
One of a kind. So if you go into a relationship looking for unconditional love and it's a true anomaly, you have much more room to be disappointed. And that goes from either side, whether you go into a relationship and you find out, man, this person doesn't have unconditional love for me. Or you go into a relationship and you find out, damn, I don't have unconditional love for this person. You dig what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's all I'm saying. If you understand that unconditional love is a true anomaly, and you don't go into a relationship expecting it, I feel like you have the opportunity to be surprised and less opportunity to be disappointed.
Well, that's a fair perspective. That's fair. That's definitely fair. I mean, I think expectations make life really hard. I'm the same way. Even at work, I think that you still have to understand what your desires and goals are, though. If I know my goal is not to just get into like new age cut buddy situation, it's things that I explain to make sure that's understood, because that's just not who I am, you know. And so
what is a new age cut buddy situation? That sounds like a situationship.
Well, that's what I hear all these people doing. And you know, then somebody tried to suggest it for me. Oh no, sister, I know I'm not into that. I'm clear on that. So, you know, so it's kind of cool when you know exactly what the desires of your heart are. It's just like when my mom used to talk to me about praying and being very clear with what it is that you desire. You know, we can have desires and then he knows our needs, but you have to be clear in what you're asking for, know exactly what it is. And I did that with my career. I've done that in a lot of areas but I haven't always been as clear personally. And so that's something that I'm learning to do, and I'm learning to be able to share that. So sometimes you can save yourself a lot of the heartache when you realize we're just not on the same page, and that's okay.
You dig what I'm saying? And that ain't nothing wrong with that. I understand
Yeah,
where you're coming from.
that's all I'm feeling over here. That's it.
Just make
I'm
sure the
just
lady you sending out there into the world to fish out options for you understands that as well. Nah, man. Look, they're my partner, man. I fuck with her on a different level. Okay, yeah, she my wife, but that ain't even really like the most important part of her existence to me. Like, you know what I'm saying? This my partner. So when we broke up, you know what I'm saying, we had our time where we couldn't stand the sight of each other, and that was cool. But I told her, listen, I lose my wife. I ain't finna lose my partner, so I'm gonna still be around. So, you know what I'm saying? You just gonna have to figure it out. You know what I mean?
yeah.
If that nigga if whatever nigga you fucking with can't, if whatever nigga you decide to go fuck with, that nigga can't fuck with you in front of me, that nigga ain't shit no way. You know what I'm saying? And
Well, who
shit,
in
so
the
I'm gonna
hell
be
would
here.
that be? That wouldn't be nobody. Yeah,
I ain't saying it is. I ain't really look, man.
you
I'm a
know what you
realist.
be doing. You know what
I'm
you
a
be doing.
realist. I'm a realistic person. You dig what I'm saying? And I know us as human beings, everybody have, momentary lustful desires this way, that way. It ain't just for men. I know women look at people and they get they get their little panties in a bunch and all that old shit too. I don't care nothing about that. I really don't. I don't care nothing about that. Cause after the ooh woo is over with, now what you settling down into? What you finna land? Once you done came down and the high ain't there no more. Now women do it too. You done had your moments.
I ain't had no moments. Not like that.
Yo,